Hello to all members of SUGCHN. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I welcome you all to the webinar of Future Proofing Your Digital Transformation with Sitecore Headless Services with our esteemed guest speaker, Amit Kumar, who is a 6X Sitecore MVP. I thank you all for joining us in this exciting webinar, and I thank Amit for accepting to share his expertise and taking time out of his busy schedule. Now, let's jump into the webinar.
Hey, Pratik, thanks. Hey, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the session and providing the timing out of your personal things, right? So today I will be presenting a session on the digital transformation with the Sitecore Headless Services. So in this session, I will be sharing a information about how what is the Sitecore Headless Services, what is Headless CMS, and what are the projects are available you can utilize, and also what are the building blocks of the headless CMS in terms of the site code, and what are the different pieces can contribute to make up the headless website, right? So I will be presenting that and sharing the experiences which I have gained by working on the headless projects. And this is a small introduction. So myself, Amit, and I'm having around a 19 plus of years of experience in the Microsoft tech stack, and currently I'm working as a hands-on solution architect with Devinot, that is a joint venture of Microsoft and Accenture. And you can reach out to me via any channel. I am active on the Slack as well as on the LinkedIn, so you can reach out to me via any channel if you have any queries. And also you can feel free to stop me if you are having any queries in between, right? So we are having a lot of time uh, within this session, and we can accommodate most of the queries if you are having. And coming to the first section, it's an introduction. So as I said that I will be explaining more about the Sitecore Headless framework and what are the things are present in that and which things you need to consider before proposing the headless. It's not like that you can propose a headless framework to any client. So there are many factors which you need to be aware before proposing the headless CMS. Right? Sitecore Headless Services. So before moving to the Sitecore Headless Services, so I assume that you most of aware about what is headless, right? So, but I will be touching little bit upon that headless CMS. What is headless CMS? So, as you are aware that in the traditional CMS, like you are used to work with the MVC, right? So, in this, you will be having a CMCD and you will be deploying your head application like a ASP.NET MVC application into the CD boxes itself, right? So, in those cases, your backend UI and the code and plugin and front end everything are tightly coupled with each other. So you do not having the flexibility to use a front end tech stack as per your need or the organizational need, right? So you will be not able to build up in those cases your application using any client side framework like React.js or anything, right? Because you are deploying the application, you will be having assemblies and which will be taking the data from your CD boxes via internal connection to the database, and then you are getting the responses of whatever the pages you are having the data and you are rendering as per your need, right? So it's a good if you are having a traditional website and you are having a very complex logic where you are having very upstream and downstream connections, right? Where the headless is not a choice, right? In those cases, it's good to go with the traditional, right? So it's a and there you will be not having flexibility to accommodate any other product into that, right? Because you need to take care of all the handshaking happening between your CD boxes and CM boxes. So those things you need to consider before accommodating any of the third party components. So in terms of this headless, right? CMS, right? So you can use the data via API. So most of the headless CMS which are present in the market, right? So they will decouple the backend and the front end. So backend will be separate, front end will be separate. You can build up your application using any of the tech stack, or you can use Sitecore as a single source of truth for your content, and from there you can send the data to any omni channel. Like if you consider a big organization who are into the, you can say that a FMCG domains, or who are working on a banking domain, right? So they are having a single CMS, and from that CMS they will be sharing data to their mobile app also, their desktop also, as well as if they are having any kiosk where user are going physically and doing. So all of those are taking the data from the same place, right? So you can consider headless CMS in that manner also. And there you can utilize the APIs, right? And you can uh, do the scalability, auto scaling you can implement, because generally most of the times when you are working with traditional MVC, so you need to increase the complete box using the complete CD box where you have deployed. You need to increase this. But in case of a this headless, because your application load is coming into your front end application, so the data will be coming from either of your CD box, or you are using the any experience edge Sitecore SaaS offering. In those cases, auto scale will be there. But if you are getting a data in form of a CD, then you can just increase one or two of the CD boxes, and then you can increase your head application node, and then you can tackle the load of the extensive users. So that will be there in terms of a headless, right? So that, and you can build up a most of the complex application using the headless, because while you are using the headless, everything will be driven by the APIs. So API will be, you can say that the your heart of your headless application, where you can connect all of the third party system and upstream and downstream system of your organization, and you can proxy or orchestrate your data from one place and share it to the all. So you do not need to do all the business logic into your application which where you have deployed it. Any question till this point? Okay, I'm moving to the next slide. So now coming to that, how the Sitecore is providing the headless services, right? So everyone will be aware about a this diagram, right? So if you are checking that Sitecore is a product, it is providing the XM, XP, XM Cloud currently, right? And XM Cloud Plus will be there. So I will be explaining later also that. So what they did, that they have created a headless services module. In this module, they are having a rendering engine, media handler, GraphQL endpoint, layout service, dictionary service, and the import service, right? So they have created a two types of tech stack they are supporting. One is that the JavaScript rendering SDK, so you can use a React or a Next.js framework or Next.js framework to build up a application, and other is the from the Microsoft tech point of view, they are providing support to the ASP.NET Core rendering SDK. So in both the cases, this headless services module will be used, but they are having a separate SDK. So while you are working with the client-side scripting, in those cases, currently support is present for the Next.js, React, Vue, and the Angular. But the current focus is only on the Next.js. So most of the project who are moving to the Sitecore headless framework, they are using the Next.js. But I have worked with the organization there. They are those are the enterprise. So in those cases, they will be not quickly adopt the any client side framework, right? So they will be going through the proper review of that modules or everything in terms of the security, and then only they are accepting those modules. So in those cases, you will be restricted to go with the Microsoft tech stacks, or if you already having an Angular JS application in 1.x, then people are using the 2.x. So in those cases, you will be not getting a all the feature of a headless, because most of the features are coming in the Next.js SDK, right? So with this headless services module, Sitecore is providing the headless content, and you can access the data in a two ways. One is that the layout service that is also providing you the uh, snapshot or a screenshot of a component with all the placeholder which you have designing in your CMS, and other is the GraphQL endpoints, right? So GraphQL is also one of the popular, you can say that the API interface which is providing the you can say that the refined or object oriented way of a data, whatever is required you can pass those and you can get it. So you do not need to get a all unnecessary data which is not required. It's up to you what you wanted. You can write a query and you can get that. So in terms of a GraphQL, you will be having a render query which will give you the all the data which is required by any of the front-end tech stack to build up a UI. So those are the two ways you can access the data. And dictionary service is also there, like you will be having a dictionary data in your ASP.NET MVC. So same way, the data which is common to all, you can also get it that data and you can store into the cache or any site of any sort of a runtime memory in your Node.js server, and you can access that like a prefetching. You can do that. So this is the citation which I have already explained to you. So earlier it was a Sitecore JSS. Now it is renamed it as a Sitecore Headless Services module. So people who have worked on the JSS from the starting 10.9.x, it was a JSS. So now 10 onwards, it's a Sitecore Headless Services module. So moving to the next session. So what are the product offering from the Sitecore which can be utilized as a headless content delivery? So to use Sitecore as a headless content delivery, so you are having a, if you are used to with the experience platform and the experience manager, so you can utilize these two where you can use the PaaS offering, or you can do the self-hosting, or you can use the Sitecore managed cloud services also to host your Sitecore instance, and you can get a content delivery as a headless. And if you are going with the Sitecore hosted SaaS product, so you are getting the XM Cloud Plus, and the Content Hub one. So in terms of a experience platform, here also you will be setting up a your CM and CD like you are used to do in the ASP.NET MVC. But the only difference or here is that you will be having a CM, you will be having a CD. CD you do not need to horizontally scale. You can have a one CD box also, and head application where your front end code like a React.js or a Next.js will be deployed, that you need to have in the Node.js server or Vercel or any sort of things which you require. So that's why I have mentioned like a cloud or a self-hosted. So you can utilize that and you can install your application there, and with the help of a layout service or a GraphQL, you can get a data. So in terms of experience manager, so experience manager is that it's a subset of a you can say that the XP. In XP you will be having analytics and the XDB, but in XM you will be not having a analytics database or a historical database to apply the analytics. So that is only a CM, and the CD will be there. That will be the XM1 scale topology, and you need to use that. Excuse me. And as I said that you can host that into the cloud as well as you can do the self-hosting. While coming to XM Cloud is a SaaS offering. Sitecore is managing that, like you are having a your Google product suites or you are used to the Salesforce. So the same way XM Cloud is a SaaS offering from the Sitecore. So Sitecore is managing all your CMS role, and the head application you have to manage it. And in the XM Cloud, you will be having a subset of your personalization and a CDP. But while you are going to the XM Cloud Plus, you will be having a CM roles, you will be having a Sitecore search will be there, you will be having a CDP personalized Sitecore Connect. So all these offering have been clubbed together and served as a XM Cloud Plus. And Content Hub 1 is that where you need to only have a data only. So if you have worked on the let's say that how I explain Content Hub 1, you will be having a content editor type of things. You will be not having any presentation or anything. You can create your template or a schema, what data you wanted. You can define that, how you are defining the template, and then you can define a fields into that. That's it. You cannot add a component or anything. It will be giving just you the data, and you can use that data to build up any sort of a component or anything. So, so you will be getting a data also, get a in that from the content of one also. The organization which are used to build up a lightweight where if you are creating a microsite or they need to build up a mobile application, they generally use the content hub one. But if you are not looking into a more content author friendly type of things, then only you can move to the content hub one. And also this OData item service API and RESTful APIs are also present, right? It is present from the starting. So you can utilize that also to get a item level data, but it will not give you the page layout data, what component you are having, and that component is having a added into which placeholder, and also what is the data source item. Those details will be not whatever is present in your item, that data you can get that. So before JSS, people used to use this RESTful APIs and the OData item service to get a data. So I'm taking a pause and open for any question if anything in these points. Okay, thank you. So moving to the other section is that why move to Sitecore Headless. So as why I was explaining, right? So it's not like that when you are going to build up a any greenfield project or you are going towards a upgrade, right? You will straight away go and move to the headless. It's not like that because when you are thinking about a going to the headless, it's not like that. It will be a apple to apple comparison. Why? Because there are many things which you are doing in your MVC, and those things will not work in the headless. In those cases, you need to do the complete restructuring of your application as well as tech stack. So first is that the flexibility and decoupling, right? So if you are looking for a something where you want a more flexibility at any given point of time, if you want to do the changes with your product stream as well as with your UI, those you are uh, thinking down the line of a 5 years, right? So in those cases, if you are due to the patches or if you are due to the upgrade, so in those cases you can think about the headless CMS. Like you will be getting a separate content, right, from a content presentation. So in traditional, it will be tightly coupled. So you are having a more technical depth or you need to spend more time, then you can think about that. And other thing is that it will give you the flexibility to your developers, right? Why? Because developer can build up a using headless CMS, they can use any of the tech stack, right, of their preferred language framework like React, Angular, and they can build up the application, right? But in traditional, this those the people who are trained in the .NET only, right, the backend, those people can only work. So you will be not able to utilize more people who are the front end developer. You cannot utilize, right? So in those cases also, you can move to the headless CMS, right? Other thing is that the future proofing. Future proofing meaning is that suppose if you are moving towards a mobile application or you need to target the other channel like a kiosk or anything. But if you are on the ASP.NET MVC, then you need to write your own wrapper to give a presentation details data so that you can share data with your mobile application or the watch application, right? Or if you're building any Android app or Apple app. So you need to build up your own presentation layer, right? Down the line. And if you are thinking that we need to move in a 1 or 2 year or 5 years, then you can straight away suggest the client you can go with the headless. Why? Because you are thinking your digital transformation. And if you are building a new application website, right, which will be doing the microsite type of things, then you can also suggest this headless CMS. And other thing is that business requirement. So generally, business user will come as a set of requirement apart from a technical requirement. What are the things they are looking for? So generally, business will be telling that our website is very old now. We need to do the complete flashy design, and they can give you the references of a other client who are the competitor, right? So that is the one reason. Or the content authoring team are looking for a things where they need to check the different types of a, you can say that the devices, right, all together, or they will be having a flexibility to apply the presentation or a personalization from a single space, or they will be looking for a personalization where they can go by themselves and they can apply that, right? So in those cases, if you are using the site for personalized, those are also for a non-technical user if the base is ready. But in case of a ASP.NET MVC, in those cases, you need to educate your content authoring team to do the personalization. Otherwise, they will give you the requirement like if you are meeting this criteria, show this, and if you are meeting this criteria, show this. Generally, those type of use cases are there. And also, business user wanted to target a different audiences or a devices. In those cases also, we can suggest moving to the Sitecore Headless. And also the multi-channel delivery which I already covered. In those cases also, if any RFP is coming to you or requirement, then also you can suggest a moving to the headless CMS instead of doing the ASP.NET MVC. And also scalability and the performance. So these requirements generally comes from the technical team where uh, they need to manage a large amount of infrastructure, and they need to do the scalability whenever the high demand or a festival season. If you are having a any website, if you have integrated with the e-commerce, so in those cases also you can suggest the headless CMS. And also the project requirement. So project requirement, how it will be governed is like that. So for example, when you are working into your project, and most of the time you will be having a one concept of that a timeline, right? And you are having a list of the functionalities which are backlog, right? And you are thinking that new website in the pipeline. So in those cases also, you can look into the moving to the headless if you are looking for a faster time to delivery and you wanted to upskill your team also, right? And you are looking for a microsite type of thing. So this uh, the headless framework is also providing the headless XXA. So you can utilize that also to build up a faster website you can build up if you are having a proper setup. It's not like that if you are moving to headless, it will be done in a 1 month. It's not like that. So initially it will be a time consuming, but after that you can decrease the load on the backend and you can increase the load on the front end team to build up a component. So in those cases, you will be not having a dependency on the backend team. Most of the time, front end team needs to work, and the backend team can work slightly on the this template part, and gradually they can also learn the front end and move to the front end team itself. So you can have a multi skills team you can build up. And the most important is that the technical requirement, like is any upgrade is pending, right? Or you are having a lot of technical depths in your existing application in terms of a business requirement or a bugs for which you have added a patch, or your organization is moving to a tech stack and they wanted to move or utilize a organization level website to use that specific tech stack. So that is also a governing things to move to the headless CMS. And also you need to think through also in terms of a technical, is your organization is ready, you are having a proper approval, or you are having a set of a you can say that the skill set in your team or your organization to support your product. or a headless CMS delivery. So these are the main points from my point of view I have generally used to propose the headless CMS. So I am not thinking, or maybe there are some, but most of the things are coming under these high level points, which can be driving factor to moving to the headless CMS. Any question in this slide? Now I'm moving to the feature comparison. So I will be showing a feature comparison between a XP, XM, and the uh, uh, XM Cloud. So first I am moving to explaining a hosting of a CM. So as you are working in the Sitecore is having a many roles, but the major roles are the content management, right? So content management is the system or a role where people are doing the content authoring or managing the content. So while you are with the XM, you can do the self-hosting, or you can do the PaaS, or you can utilize the site managed cloud to do that. In terms of the XP also, you can use self-hosting or a cloud. But while you are moving to the XM cloud, the hosting of your CM role is done by the Sitecore itself. You do not need to do it. You need to buy the subscription, and then rest of the things will be taken care by the Sitecore itself. And in terms of the XM Cloud Plus also, there also the CM role will be set up by the uh, Sitecore team only, and you do not need to do any infrastructure provisioning for that. But you have to set up the SSO and those things you have to set up by your own. But the provisioning will be not done by the Sitecore, but all the pipeline or everything will be there. But most of the organization is required their own pipeline. Then you need to set up your own pipeline via Azure or a GitHub, and you can utilize the CLI command to create a publishing artifact, and those things you can automate by your own pipeline. So those all things will be done by yourself only if you are going with any of the offering like XM, XP, XMC, or XMC Plus. Coming to the content delivery is the, you can say that the from where your front end application will get the data, right? So in case of a XM, so when you are going with the XM, then you will be using the external topology where the CD purpose is only give you the data. So in those cases, you can do the self-hosting by yourself, or you can utilize the PaaS or a Sitecore Managed Cloud, and you will be getting the GraphQL endpoint also, Edge GraphQL endpoint also, and the layout service endpoint also. These are the three ways you can get the data. But Sitecore 10 onwards, by default, Edge GraphQL endpoint is active, so you can utilize that. And both Edge GraphQL and the GraphQL endpoints having a different schema. So suppose earlier you were in the Sitecore 9 using the GSS, now you have moved to the Sitecore 10. Then you need to enable the GraphQL endpoint. But if you are thinking to use the Edge GraphQL endpoint and wanted to utilize the same query, those things will not work. You need to write or modify the query so that it will work with the Edge GraphQL. And third is the layout service endpoint that you can utilize if you are on the 9 or 10, you can utilize the same. When in the XP, it is the same as the XM. The data will be coming from a CD. So your front-end application will hit the endpoints at the CD server, right, to get a data. In terms of a XM Cloud, you will be not having a CD because when you are working on the XM Cloud, the publishing will be happening to the Experience Edge. That is a SaaS product from the Sitecore, and it is CDN enabled, and it will be providing the GraphQL endpoint as well as the layout service will be also there. It will be a GraphQL endpoints only, and you can get directly data via a Edge GraphQL endpoint. So you do not need to provision anything. It will be a bundle with your XM Cloud uh, contract with the Sitecore. And the same thing is happening with the XM Cloud Plus also. There also it is giving you the same type of things where you can get a data and from the graphical edge point, and it is a CDN enabled. So you do not need to do the auto scaling and those type of things. So whenever the load will be there, auto scaling will be taken care by the site currency. Any question till this point for the CM content and the CD? Any doubts?
No, Amit.
So now move. Okay, thank you. So now moving to the hosting of a front-end app, like in the headless text stack, we used to say the rendering host, right? But in the traditional, we used to say the CD box, right? Now it's a rendering host. So front-end app, which is accessed by the end user. So while you are on the XP, so some people, some organization which wanted to save the cost, they are utilizing the Windows server with CD and they are installing the Node.js server and they are opening a separate port because by default port 80 will be open, right? So they are opening a separate port like 8283 or anything and they will be utilizing that port to host their headless application. But if you are not a cost conscious, so people used to use the separate Node.js node. So it's always recommended to use the Linux OS to host your Node.js because it's preferred to use the Node.js on the Linux operating system. But people are using the Windows host only if they are using the Azure VM. In Azure VM, they are installing the this a Node.js server and then they are using that. But if you will on the AKS, if you will try to experiment with the Windows container, uh, it will you will face a lot of issue, but uh, you will be not able to create a production ready, say that a product you can utilize it. Lower environment it will work, but if you are trying to create a production ready, it will be not suggested to go with the Windows container. It's always to go good to go with the Linux container. Okay. And in terms of the XP also it will be same only. So it depend upon which client you are working. They wanted the Node.js on the CD box or what. They need to decide it. And when you are with the XM Cloud, so as I said that XM Cloud is having a good connectivity or a connector for the Vercel. So preferred is the Vercel. If your organization or a client don't want to go with the Vercel, in those cases people will use the Azure Web App or they will be using the uh, separate Azure VPN to do that, or they can utilize Netlify versus ABA, AWS Amplify, and people wanted to go with the Azure static web apps also. So they are doing this. There is a experimental product is also there from the Azure static web app. So it's not a production ready, but it's people are using that. So people are utilizing that also if you are having the static website, right? Because if you're working on the headless, so there is SSR and the SSG there. So both are having their own pros and cons. So as per your requirement, you need to decide which build type you have to use it, and then you need to decide the your product. So those things needs to be considered while selecting the front end. You cannot go with any product where you are wanted to save the cost, but at the end you will be not able to deploy. Then it's a wastage of a time and effort there. So you need to decide these things while you are in the initial phase of your you can say that the sprint zero. So you need to identifying all these things with the client team. And the same thing you need to do with the Cloud Plus because there also Vercel and everything is same. So hosting provider, you have to decide it because some people will go with the Vercel because it's having connector, but there are some limitations is also there like a number of hits and those things. So if you are having a high load or those things, and if your organization or a client is more efficient in setting up the infrastructure, they will set up their own setup in container also. Now coming to the experience editor support or editing rendering host. So there are two things. One is the rendering host, one is the editing rendering host. So while you are working with the headless, you need to aware about these terms. So editing rendering host is sort of a rendering host which will provide or help you to do the page addition or editing in the experience editor. So you can also, people are utilizing also a rendering host to the editing rendering host, but in those cases you are giving a two set of load on the rendering host. One is for the content author and one is for the end user. So it's always good to have a separate editing rendering host for the higher environment like a production or staging, and lower you can use that. It's up to you. But it's better to use a separate editing rendering host. So in those cases, people are also utilizing the CM server. They are installing that also. And as I said, that separate Node.js server is always preferred to set up. And as I said, that you can utilize the end user rendering host, but it's not recommended because in case of a editing rendering host, you need to what I am telling that you need to have a separate URLs to get a API data. Why? Because when you are on the rendering host, then your API URL will be your CD box or experience page. But while you are in the editing rendering host, you need to get a data from master database or a CM role, right? In those cases, your URL will be on the from the CM. So those manipulation you need to do it in your pipeline when you are utilizing a single editing rendering host. So in Vercel also people are able to implement these type of things with a single rendering host. Because if you are creating a separate rendering host, then the cost will increase, right? So those things you need to tell your client upfront. Otherwise, it can create a problem at a later phase when you are actually going to showcase the capabilities. And in terms of a XP also, it will be same. As I said that in terms of a XM cloud, right? So editing host is managed by the site code itself. You do not need to do anything, right? It will be provisioned by the site code, and but it will be not accessible for the general public users. While you will be logged in, if you will open the page in content experience editor, and you will be able to see that. But you cannot utilize that as a separate or a public and facing user. And one thing I just need to mention in the XM and XP, suppose if you are using the Vercel as your hosting provider for your front-end application, and you wanted to utilize Vercel itself for your this as a editing host, so you can use that. But some organization is having a security requirement that their editing host should not be visible uh, to all the users. Otherwise, your public Vercel is a public, right? So you can enable that and your web app will be accessible to all. So there is a security option is there also is restricted access option is there in Vercel. So that you can enable and then you need to enter user and ID and password to access the Vercel. But if you have enabled that in Vercel and now you will try to that in experience as a experience editor support or editing rendering host, then Sitecore will not work. You will be not able to view the pages in the experience editor. So there is a some issues in that. Why? Because uh, Sitecore will be making a HTTP request from a CM to your rendering host to get the data, but your rendering host is having a restricted access, then the that you will be getting access denied type of thing. So in those cases, you cannot utilize Vercel with restricted access as your editing host. In those cases, you need to go with the Azure VM base or you need to go with the Azure Web Apps, right? And same thing with the XM Cloud Plus itself. And search option. This is for the non-site search functionality. It means that the search which is accessed by the CM itself. So while you are on the XM, so you need to set up via your own, right? Because while you are installing the XM, you will be setting your own solar instance, right? Or you can create a master slave, or you can implement a solar with Zookeeper, right? And you can utilize also such tags, right? If you don't want to use that your own solar instances, right? And in terms of the XP also, it will be same. So you can apply the CM server with solar if you are having a less load, or you can have a separate solar with the Zookeeper installation, and you can utilize that. But while you are working with the XM Cloud Plus, right? So solar setup, which is utilized by your CM role, will be set up by the hosted by the Sitecore itself. You do not need to set up by your own, but you cannot access that solar instance. Why? Because you cannot deploy you can say that indexes or actionable or any as product. So it's always suggested when you are working with the XM Cloud product or a headless, don't deploy any custom code or the custom configuration related to the your backend application as well as the search. And the same thing will be happening for the XM Cloud Plus itself. Now coming to the site search functionality, which is accessed by your front-end application and the end user. So in this, you can set up a Solar or a Solar Zookeeper in the CD box itself, depending upon your user load. Or if you are having a more load, then you can utilize the separate, or you can utilize the any other self-hosted or a cloud-based product like a you can utilize the search tags, you can utilize the Covio where you can do the site crawl, or you can utilize the site code search also with the crawling, or you can utilize the search ingestion API if you need to move the dynamic, because currently there is no connector or anything will be there which will, when you are publishing from your CM, then automatically it will publish to the site code search, right? But Covio is having a connector with that. Same thing with the XP. And while you are coming to the XM Cloud, then you can utilize the search text also Covio, or any, or you can utilize the automatic content injection with the help of a the ingestion API of a Sitecore search. So it's good to go with the Sitecore product so you can get a better view of your product or experience better experience, right? So you can do that. So if you are working with the Sitecore search, so you can crawl the website or you can write the custom code for automatic content injection into your Sitecore search. For example, if you are working with any of the say that a legal website where you are showing the legal content, and it's some content is updated, right? And you wanted that content to be immediately available to your website. But if you are going with the site for search, in those cases, it is not immediate update. It will be a 1 hour of a regular interval. It will crawl the website. Then only it will be available. So in those cases, you can use some sort of a webhook, and you can push the data to the via Sitecore Connect. You can push that data directly to the Sitecore site so that your end user will be getting a immediate result or updated data. So, and also one more thing is that it's also not suggested that if you wanted to implement a search for your website in XM Cloud, uh, because you do not need to use the experience search provided graphical, because those are not uh, serve the purpose. Why? Because there is a limitation also present in the XM Cloud Plus also. So experience search in terms of a 80 requests per minute. So those also you need to take care. And the same thing will be happening with the XM Cloud Plus. Now, if you are moving to the analytics option, so in XM also you can use the experience manager. So you can use the in session based Sitecore XM analytics things. You can utilize that, or you can utilize CDP personalized as a product to implement the analytics. In terms of a XP also, it will be same. You can utilize the experience platform, or you can write some sort of a layer which will give you the personalized data, right? In terms of a experience platform, and also you can utilize the CDP and personalize as a Sitecore SaaS product to implement the personalization and collecting the users' footprints, what they are accessing. In terms of a XMC, you can utilize a CDP personalized because you will be not having experience platform and experience manager. So you need to rely on the CDP and personalize or any other product suite which your organization or client wanted or any other vendor. And same case with the XM Cloud Plus. But in XM Cloud Plus, CDP and personalized will be you will be getting as a bundled. So you do not need to buy a separate license. But in case of rest of the three, you need to buy a separate license to full-fledged using these. And you can also just check the differences between. This is a very good link. You can check where you will be getting a difference of all the product suite from the site. And this is a reference architecture. So are you able to clearly visible, able to clearly see, or any? Is it fine, or I will increase?
It is fine.
Okay. So what is happening there? So I think we are running out of time. So what happened that uh, it is a high level diagram which will showcase how the headless framework will work. So in the center, you are seeing that you are having the CM and CD, and you are having the databases, and you are having the search provider, right? So CM will be getting a Sitecore CMS website or a CMS that will be getting a data from a CM. And if you are having the ASP.NET MVC based application, like which is deployed on the content delivery, so that is also getting the data from a content, sorry, from the CD, and media file also from the CD. Or if you are having the CDN, then also you can get the data from the CDN itself. And also, if you are having a experience edge, right, as a your XM or XP implementation, you can also buy a experience edge also. You do not need to go with the CD also. You can use the experience edge also offering for the content delivery. In those cases, uh, you will be your Next.js application will be getting a data from a experience edge and also the media file from the experience edge. So experience edge can give you the up to 50 MB of size of the media file, or you can have a separate CDN or a DAM application to upload. So that you can get it. And also generally in all the this headless application, you will be having a service layer which can connect with any database, any such provider, like I am showing it here, right? Or any data storage or any upstream and downstream system it can access. And editing host also I have tried to show, which is utilized by the CM separate editing host, because editing host will be getting a data from the CM and the media file itself is getting from the medium. And also if you are seeing that I have shown a crawling of a data. If you are going with the Sitecore search, Covio, and other thing, so you can do the direct crawling of a data from a product itself. Or if you are having a some sort of a API here, like a publishing data to the search provider, you can also, with the help of a connector, you can also directly push that data to the search provider. So this is a high level things which will be giving a clear understanding how the different types of product are coupled together. Any question in this? Fine. And one more thing is that this is a Sitecore XP. So here I have tried to showcase that how the search can be connected, because this is a CM and a CD, and you will be publishing a data, because if you are going with the Sitecore search based connectivity, right, or a search provider, so in those cases you need to use the webhook or some sort of a custom code, right, which will be where you will be pushing the data, and that custom code can push data to the Sitecore search, or any other search provider is there that can push data to that. And your headless application can get data from the Sitecore search, or you are having the PSP.NET application also, right? That can also get a data from the other search provider, or you can get data from the Sitecore search also. So with the help of that, you can implement the Sitecore search in the Sitecore XP and the XM itself. And if you are into the XM Cloud also, you can utilize the webhook like a Sitecore Connect. You can utilize, or you can utilize your own webhook if you can build. Then you can push data to the Sitecore search also, or you can utilize the Sitecore webhook, which will push the data direct, and Connect is having a connector with the Sitecore search, and you can push the data. And also, the when you are publishing, data will be pushing to the Experience Edge, and from Experience Edge, your front-end application get the data. Any questions in this? No. Fine. And this is the high-level architecture diagram for the Sitecore Experience Edge. As I was explaining that currently Sitecore Content Hub 1, Content Hub, XM Cloud, and the Sitecore Experience Manager uh, it can be used to utilize the Sitecore Experience Edge. So there will be having a content management system. So when you are pushing the data or publishing a data, then it will be pushing the data to the Experience Edge connector. So while you are working with the XM and the XP, you need to, if you wanted to go with the Experience Edge, you need to install the Sitecore Experience Edge connector into your CM instance, so that instead of publishing to the CD, it will be publishing data to the XM Experience Edge endpoint. And as I am explaining that Experience Edge is a CDN enabled, so like you are seeing a different web app, and the delivery is happening from the scalable GraphQL endpoint, which can be utilized by any of the channel. Like you can utilize by the IoT devices or any social media, or you can utilize in the web app also. And these are the endpoints API are the GraphQL enabled, and you will be getting a data in the JSON format as well as media files up to the 50 MB. If beyond that, then it cannot be served, and it is also having a 80 requests per minute or something like that. Restrictions are there. So while you are proposing the experience edge, so you need to take care of these restrictions also if you are having a high user load website. And you can check the more information on the one of the articles which I have wrote. And this is a high level diagram of a Sitecore editing rendering host. So here, as I was explaining, so like content author will be giving a request to edit any page, and then that request will be coming to the content management role. So what is happening that you already having the Sitecore Headless Services module in your CM role also, right? So what it will do, it will create a payload to get a page layout information. So that is a HTTP post request to JSS render, and then it will be sending to your editing rendering host. So editing rendering host also having a API or those things are there, because you will be, it needs to get the data from the experience edge also, right? So it will be you will be sending a request to the your front end endpoint like a slash JSS render. So and there also you will be passing the name of the page like a slash home, slash about us, slash contact us. Those are the item name. So on the basis of that, it will generate the data with the help of a GSS SDK, and the next year's NPM packages are installed, and that HTML will be sent back to the experience editor, which is having a placeholder for the experience editor related point. Like you are clicking, it will showing you a add item here or a add placeholder. So those will be automatically added on the outer HTML of a your component. With the help of that only, you will be able to see a you can say that a experience editor support in the CM role while you are using the headless. And important thing to remember. So I will be not taking much time into this. I think I already over that time. So First thing is that while you are proposing, as I explained in the earlier slides also, so you need to first analyze your business requirement also, your technical requirement, your Sitecore XP or XM as a headless CMS. You can use that also. It's depending upon your requirement, what you wanted, and development flow, how you wanted to develop the project. It means like that some if you are not having a skill set or a headless or your organization is not using a Docker setup, then it will be difficult to go with the Sitecore headless implementation. And content management, how you are going to manage the content, how many number of users will be there. You wanted to use the Sitecore headless entry, or you want to mix both traditional and the existing in the same. So those things you need to consider. And also content migration, it is not a lift and shift. You need to do a lot of restructuring while moving old content to the new. So you need to consider that effort also while proposing the headless solution. And also analytics, if you are on the XDB, so there will be no automatic upgrade. So you need to migrate data with the help of a back job into the Sitecore CDP or any other third party, whichever you are using it. So that things you need to remember while proposing. Yes, that's it. And these are the some references. I will be sharing the slide so that you can go through. And now I asked many times you guys are having any question, but I hope everyone is aware about everything. So open to all if any questions or anything is there for me. All are very
Any
quiet. I don't know why.
any questions from anyone?
Or I was fast very, or you guys, or I need to upgrade the content or anything. I am open for any type of uh, feedback.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Amit, you were talking about the editing host, right?
Yes, yes.
Can we host just the editing host alone in a separate server in case if we want to scale up or have it much more
Yes,
performant
yes.
way? Okay.
Yes, we can do that.
Sure. Yep.
Decoupling
Any
is
other
always
questions from anyone?
ending goes right.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. I think we don't have any questions. We are good to close the session. Thank you, Amit, for the great session and the valuable insights that you shared with us. And I also thank all the participants who attended this session. Have a nice day and rest of the evening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining the session and have a great weekend.
You
Thank you.
too. Thanks.
Thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
Amit.
Bye.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Yes.